Hey, welcome to the good old Arsenal. Everybody's okay after yesterday. By the way, lads, we moved up to third place yesterday. Well, what can you say about that? I'll say we're all happy about that, aren't we? We're all, everybody's happy about that we are third in the league. Third in the league, 1 point behind Man City, and going great guns as far as the results. It's a business. Harry, how are you, son? All right.
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Glad to see Arsenal creeping up the table.
Yeah, that's it. I know you've got something to say, so so the platform is yours, as they say.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask for people's help. Basically, I know a lot of you guys listen to the podcast on a weekly basis, and I know a lot of you make donations in the super chat. This week, we're supporting a really important cause. A family friend who has unfortunately been taken ill in Cyprus. He's retired to Cyprus, but he's been taken ill, and the treatment he needs requires him to come back to the UK. But unfortunately, it's of huge cost to the family. They need to raise around about £35,000. So Craig has been really kind and said that anything donated in the super chat tonight will be sent over to those guys on their GoFundMe page, and I'll be putting the link in the description as well after we finish the pod. So big thanks to everyone. If they can, even anything that you can, will be massively helpful. To the family who, as you can understand, they're going through a really, really distressing time at the moment.
And I understand he's a big gooner as well. Like, is that correct? Like,
He is a gooner. He is a gooner. So let's help the gooner family
help
if
the
we
gooner
can.
family. That's what we
And
want to do. Like,
that's it.
okay, so that'd be brilliant. Like, all donations would be fantastic. Like, yeah, for that. Dan, how are we? How are we, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm recovered from the weekend, had a couple of beers, and obviously yesterday's football match was all good. So, yeah, well, I say all good. We got 3 points. That was all right.
Yeah, brilliant. I wish I had a few more beers after watching that yesterday. It would have been a lot more easier, I think. Like,
Yeah, I quite agree with that, mate.
I'll put out a tweet today saying, look, it's not necessarily moaning. Today it's concern and listen. I have to say that fantastic that we're in the third place, buzzing because we won. It's been great going. I'll tell you, it's been great going to work today. All the Spurs fans now, funny enough, are not interested in football no more. Absolutely love it. And there's us, moaning because we're third in the league and another 3 points on the old table. But there are concerns. I felt that it was again poor yesterday. People keep saying, "Oh, once we get Bellerin back, once we get Tierney back into the side, and also we get Holding back in." But that doesn't, for me, solve our problems in midfield, because I still think that's where it's all coming from. I felt that the service into Aubameyang yesterday was poor. In saying that, I thought that was Abba's worst game that he ever had, but for a long while for us, and let's face it, he's entitled to a bad game every now and then, and he was sort of highlighted on Match of the Day yesterday about his work rate as well. Sometimes if he has one of those lackluster days, his work rate goes out the window as well, but he can be forgiven. But the second half worried me. Like, it did worry me, you know what I mean? We was hanging on, and you just think, oh God, they're going to get a goal. But we got through it, and we got the 3 points. And I think going into the sometimes people say, "I was just about getting the result," and I get that. And we get to the international break now, and we're in a good position. But as someone reminded me today, we had this 22-game unbeaten run last season. Everybody's saying how magnificent it was and everything like that, blah, 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 blah. And then the wheels come off. And we didn't rectify the problems that we was having. So I think we've got to rectify them while we're winning. That was my beef yesterday, really, you know what I mean? So, Harry, on to you first. Well, without being too doom and gloom, because it is another winner. How do you actually feel about it, and what's your thoughts about yesterday?
Yesterday was a strange game because I thought the first half we were completely in control without even playing very well. I thought Bournemouth were quite poor. And I thought that Arsenal were doing okay in the sense that we were pressing quite high up the pitch. And, for me, I think one of the most baffling things is why we only do that for certain periods of games. And I totally accept that it's very demanding physically and you may not be able to do it for, 90 minutes. But I feel like Arsenal don't do it enough. So we came out in the second half, having controlled the game, again, like I said, without really being amazing. But then that just completely disappeared. And it felt like we allowed a really poor Bournemouth side to somehow, ease their way back into a game that really should have been put beyond their reach earlier. I'm not too doom and gloom, like you said, because we are third. We're a point behind Manchester City. We've been to Old Trafford, we've been to Anfield, and we've played Spurs. So when you take all of that into consideration, it's a very respectable position. And in my opinion, third is the highest that Arsenal could possibly finish. So we're at the maximum at the minute in terms of the league position. Now, throw into that, there's a load of other factors like the way our opponents are playing around us. Obviously, Spurs are in disarray. Manchester United are a mess. Chelsea are a little bit inconsistent, but that comes with the transition that they're going through, the youngsters that Lampard is trying to bring through. They're always going to be ups and downs when you go down that route. But I think when people say that we were rubbish yesterday and they complain about the performance, there's nothing wrong with that. What people are doing, it's not that they're upset that we're third. It's not that they're upset we're a point behind City. It's that they're just acknowledging that if we continue to perform in this way, we will not be able to sustain third place. That's what people are trying to get at. And if you look at last season, there were many games we got through and picked up points where we didn't play particularly well. But come the end of the season, that bit us in the arse because the performances weren't there, and therefore we couldn't raise our game at the end and get those points that we needed to ultimately finish in the top four. So it's, in my opinion, it's not really people moaning. It's more people just acknowledging that there needs to be an improvement. And at the end of the day, as Arsenal fans, you want to see us at our best. You want to see us as strong as we possibly can be. And, in yesterday's game, we weren't.
Yeah, I agree. I can't disagree with any of your points there. I think that I think we have the right to be concerned with what's going on, and and I don't know what you feel about it, Dan. There's got to be some signs of improvement. I don't feel that from all of our own games, really. We've been great in any of them. I know we've won, I think, 3 out of 4. But the one we drew against Spurs, that was our best performance. But that came when we was 2-0 down. What's your thoughts on this one, Dan?
I don't remember a season where I've been so depressed at half time every game, if I'm honest with you. Honestly, the only time I've actually felt like we were comfortable was yesterday at half time. The Burnley game, we were sort of chasing the game at 1-0. Obviously, Tottenham, we were 2-1 down thanks to a last-minute goal from Lacazette. Otherwise, it would have been even more of a terrible first half. And then at Aston Villa, we were 1-0 down and 10 men. And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on this season? Obviously, yesterday, I felt we were fairly comfortable, and I thought it was a tale of two halves. The second half, I thought we were pretty shocking, if I'm honest. I didn't know what we were watching in comparison to the first half. First half, listen, Pepe gets a lot of stick, right? Now, I'm not going to lay into him too much because I thought he struggled. First half, I thought he was actually okay. Do you know why? Because everyone was pressing and we played the pressing game and it was quite refreshing. I thought, Brian, everyone's woken up here. Everyone's playing all right. We're starting to take control of the game. I know it's only 1-0, but we're looking all right. All of a sudden in the second, we just didn't even come out, did we? We just come out again in a totally different team. And we were very lucky that Callum Wilson didn't score. I don't know why he was trying to cross there. I thought he should have shot. I think it would have gone in if he would have taken his chance there. And we had a couple of saves from Leno. I couldn't take much positives from the second half. As a whole, in terms of positives, I thought Callum Chambers was fantastic. I thought he was man of the match for me. I think he actually did get man of the match. And Matteo Guendouzi, again, I thought was great. I think he's been fairly consistent of late. My only concern at the moment is our midfield, boys, because I have no idea what the manager is doing. He's got Granit Xhaka holding, which I don't think he should be doing, and he's bringing on Torreira playing in some kind of Eden Hazard role. I've got no understanding of what is going on with Lucas Torreira. He might as well be bringing Mesut Ozil on or Ainsley Maitland-Niles if he's going to play someone there. I've got no understanding of what he's doing with Torreira.
Well, let's go on to Torreira thing because I had pulled the hands on my feet. I'm with you on this one, Dan. I'm looking at it and going, right, he's bringing on Torreira. He's going to play him and Xhaka right in, screen it all and just see out this game. And then I see Torreira in front of Aubameyang. I see him out wide. I see him everywhere but where he should be, And then I'm looking at it going, if you're going to play that role, if you're going to play him on that role, why are you not bringing on Maitland-Niles? Why are you not doing that? Why is all of a sudden Emery not playing Torreira in his normal position? You know, I can't get it. I need someone to explain it to me.
The problem I've got with it as well is if you want to do that, all right, if you want to do that, fine. If that's your way of thinking that we're going to get a result, that's fine. You can't play Xhaka and Torreira together like that. If you want to play them together, you've got to do what you've just said, Lee, and have them both kind of as kind of pivots or anchor in the midfield. You can't have Torreira bombing it forward. I have no idea why he believes that is his position now, and that's the most frustrating thing for me. Everyone goes on about the defence and all that, and we should be playing Holding and Chambers and all that. I'm with you there. What I'm saying is, at least David Luiz and Socrates are centre backs. Yeah, they're playing at centre half where they play. We're trying to play Xhaka in the wrong position and Torreira in the wrong position. I can't for the life of me understand it at all.
The only thing that I can think of, and I'm not saying this is right and all that Emery feels that maybe playing Torreira in that role that he can nick the ball in the final third. It's the only explanation I've got for it, Harry, that, you know, that we can nick the ball in the final third and go on, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense. It's, you know, I'm baffled by it. I really am, Harry.
I think that's what it is. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that in Unai Emery's mind, he wants to press further up the pitch, and he feels that Lucas Torreira has the tenacity to do that. And, you know, to a degree, he's right. But the problem with that is that you're really missing in creativity. And Lucas Torreira's spoken in the past about wanting to play further up the field, and that might be what he wants to do. But in my opinion, that's not where his strengths lay. He's not a particularly creative player, doesn't really get many goals. You know, when you look at someone like Joe Willock, for example, he's kind of taken on that Aaron Ramsey mantle where he makes those late runs into the box and he gets there and he gets on the end of things. And we saw that in the Europa League the other night. But Torreira doesn't offer you that. So when you're away from home in some games, I understand going with the 3 to try and be a bit more pragmatic. And, you know, I don't really like that style of football. I've never been a big fan of it, but I get why he does it. But I don't get why he in games like this game looks at certain players and wants to shoehorn them into a team. And, you know, when Torreira came on yesterday, I thought that was to try and tighten it up a little bit in order to stop, obviously, Bournemouth finding that equaliser. But I don't know. I think that maybe Torreira's had a word. Maybe Torreira's not particularly happy playing as one of those deeper players. But if he doesn't want to play there, then, you know, we've got a bit of an issue, because if something happens to Guendouzi, we've got a real problem there. And even Guendouzi, as good as he is and as good as he has been of late, he's still not, in my opinion, disciplined enough to be one of those defensive midfield players, because he does pop up on the right, he does pop up on the left. David Hillier said to me a couple of weeks ago that with Guendouzi, he wants to give everything as quickly as he can possibly give it. And that's fine, but you've got to pace yourself. You've got to be disciplined. And a game of football lasts 90, not 45 minutes. And I think somebody needs to do that role. Somebody needs to take up that role and be a mainstay in the team and sit and protect that back 4. It's not going to be Granit Xhaka. We all know that. He's not equipped to do that. And if it's not going to be Lucas Torreira, then I don't know where else you look.
I think Emery sees Lucas Torreira as too lightweight and small, and I think that he wanted somebody bigger with stature, and he believes that Xhaka's the best option we got because he's probably the strongest we got in midfield, and that's why he's using him. That's my only explanation for it. I just can't understand for the life of me why he's doing that. And if he wants to try it one game, that's fine. Don't try it for 3 or 4 weeks in a row like he has, because it ain't working, and surely he can see that by now.
Well, that's the thing. I'm going to say this now. If he can't see it, he wants to get up into the stands with the fans, because all us fans can see it.
Agree,
you know, I've got to say that. You know, do you feel though that I watched the game closely on Sunday, and I felt, and on Thursday, I feel that there's a different mentality with the team also because of the cup games. I just feel there's a little bit more pressure on these league games. So Emery goes in there a little bit more cautious. What do you think of that, Dan? What Thursday was free flowing. I know that it's a different team, but like, come on, was Liège as bad or as poor as Bournemouth? I don't think so. I feel there's a different approach.
Do you know what worries me the most, or the thing that doesn't worry me, just confuses me the most? I believe this cup team, or whatever you want to call it, Europa League team, cup team, Carabao Cup team, has a different style and a different philosophy to the first team in the Premier League.
Do you know why that is? Because Freddie Ljungberg has been given more responsibility with that young team, with that cup
Well,
team?
do you know what? That would make sense then. That would make sense. I heard that rumor. I didn't know if that's true or what. Yeah, that would answer that perfectly. And if that is the case, then he needs to be taking charge of more games in, because what I've enjoyed the most out of the Emirates this season have been the Nottingham Forest game and the Standard Liège game, because we have played free flowing football and we have played out from the back and it's worked. We've looked better on the ball, and they're young. They are youngsters. They're going to give it all. They're going to give it their all, and I get that. But I'd much rather have a balanced midfield with Torreira, Willock, and Ceballos or Guendouzi, and have the commanding centre back of Holding, which is what he's been in the last two games that I've seen against Forest and Liège, and also players like Martinelli, who really excite me. I'd much rather watch that than the first team at the moment. And I know it's negative, and I don't want to stay negative because I'm trying to see how it is. I'm trying to be positive. We are third, but if we carry on playing like that, we're going to get Champions League football. But I don't see us progressing, because at the moment something's wrong. The start of last season we went 22 games unbeaten. You mentioned it, Lee, and a few people said to me it was quite lucky in parts. I don't care if it was lucky in parts, because we went 49 games unbeaten and Van Nistelrooy hit the bar, and that was lucky, and Pires dived against Portsmouth, that was lucky. We still went 22 games unbeaten, which meant that something we were doing was working and there was confidence in the team. This team looks completely different to me this season. I'm so confused. We've had capitulation second half against Watford. We've had 2 goals chasing the game against Spurs. We've had no idea how to go forward and create chances against a poor Man United side at Old Trafford. And we've been scraping results against Bournemouth at home. Please explain to me what's going on. I can't get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Lee, 1 second, mate. Sorry to cut you there. Donation from Michael Hernandez. Thank you, Michael. To all of those of you who have joined us a little bit later on, all the donations tonight are going towards a GoFundMe page for a gentleman who's an Arsenal fan, unfortunately been taken sick in Cyprus and needs to return to the UK. So we're trying to get as many donations as we can. So thank you to Michael for your one. And we might as well answer Michael's question as well.
We can do, yeah. Brilliant.
Lee, what do you think? Can Willock be our long-term Ramsey replacement?
Yeah, I don't think that he is. I think that everybody was thinking it would be Ceballos, but I think that he's a different sort of a player. But Willock seems to be the one that's going to get on the end of things and score goals. But he's got to be given the chance, Harry. You know, I think he's been our best midfield player this season, along with Guendouzi. I think they've been the best 2 midfield players consistently over the 8 games, or how many games it is now, if you include the cup games. But he's the one that seems to be out the side at the moment, or being left out. Maybe it's because he's young or whatever, but I believe he is. He's a good finisher. I like him. I like his energy levels. He's got fantastic lungs where he goes up and down. He gets across the. What I like about him is that he gets across the pitch very, very quickly, and it brings an energy to the team. You know, I look back at last season with Aaron Ramsey. Aaron Ramsey's work rate was superb as well. But I just feel that Willock, being that little bit younger, maybe hasn't had the injury that Ramsey had as well, just gets across the picture just a little bit quicker. I really like him, I've got to say that. And I thought he was brilliant on Thursday. And I did feel that when he took Willock off instead of Ceballos, I honestly thought that it was going to be Willock that was going to be playing. But I'd like to see Willock integrated into the team. And I like to see him and Ceballos and Guendouzi, but I know at times you've got to have something a little bit more steady and at the base of that. But I'm a big fan of Willock. So I've got to say I've been very impressed.
I think he's more of an 8 than a 10, I think, Joe Willock as well. I think he's got that little bit of bite about him that Ramsey perhaps didn't. I think he's got a little bit more energy at times, or probably as much energy, if not more. So, massive fan of Joe Willock, and I think he's been brilliant in the cup games. He's probably been one of our most consistent players in those games. And obviously the goal at Frankfurt, brilliant against Forest. I thought he was man of the match and made Mesut Ozil look pretty average next to him. But also I think he was great the other night, took his goal really well as well against Liège. So, massive fan of Willock.
Yeah, I've got to say, I am like, let's get on to the positives. You know, the one positive for me on yesterday's game, clean sheet. I love a clean sheet, and we got it. You know, by hook or by crook, we did get it. And Callum, people keep saying, I'm going to just go on a little bit about Callum Chambers there. People say, oh, we're going to be so much of a better team when Bellerin comes back in. You know what? At the expense of Callum Chambers, who I think has been our best defender, definitely in the last 2 games. Another clean sheet when he's in the side. Great bit of defending at the back post yesterday. I've seen calamities go before that in the past. I felt that he done really, really well yesterday. I thought that David Luiz's first goal as well done really well. And I will say this about Kolasinac. I thought he defended really well yesterday. It's just that his final ball and, when he goes upfield, Jamal's has just got, if I was playing in the team and he's going forward, I'd just say, I'm going to just stay here because it's not coming over. But, which I think we all agree that Tierney will improve at. But we defended okay yesterday. And I think that, I don't know if I could say that I was totally relaxed, I suppose, that we was going to get the clean sheet, but that was the pleasing thing for me, though. What do you think on that, boys?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we defended well for the most part. Of course, it's Arsenal, so there's going to be some moments where you're a little bit nervy, but I think you're absolutely right. I think the fullbacks did pretty well yesterday. I thought, like you said, Kolasinac defended a lot better than he normally does. I thought there were a couple of moments in the first half where sort of the ball would go in behind him, but he had that sort of extra little burst of pace and that power to get out of the situation. There was one I remember in the first half where he just turned on the burners and he just sort of he drove forward and he had the power and the strength in his body to hold off the challenge as well. And that's what Kolasinac has got that not every fullback has. He has that little burst of power, and I think he looks a bit fitter now. I know people talk about him not always being perfectly fit. I think the role he does in that Arsenal team is very demanding physically, and maybe a lot of the time when he does get caught out, it's because he simply can't get back. And I thought he was a little bit more cautious yesterday, but showed that power and the pace at times. As for Chambers, I thought he was brilliant, really, really good. He seems to be improving all the time, and I know that he didn't play there at Fulham, but I think that time at Fulham done him a load of good. I think he's come back into the team hungry. He wants to prove himself. He's got an opportunity at right back now. He's grabbing it with two hands at the moment. An interesting question that I'd like to see what you guys think. Someone was saying to me yesterday, what is Callum Chambers' best position? Now, for me, with Callum Chambers at the moment, I don't really see a standout position for him. I don't think he's particularly good enough at centre back to be a mainstay there. I don't necessarily think he's the finished article at right back either, but Chambers can be a really, really useful utility player in this squad if we use him right, I think. I don't know what you guys think.
I think with Callum Chambers, you're right. He's played at right back for Southampton. He's played at centre back for us, centre back for Middlesbrough, centre back for Fulham. But then he went into a defensive midfield role, got player of the season. I didn't see enough of him in that position, so I can only go by what friends have told me. Apparently, he was outstanding there. Now, I know it's Fulham and people will say he's not Arsenal. I'd like to see him in a role there. We're talking about a lack of defensive midfield. If he can do a better job than Xhaka and Torreira, then why not give him the chance to prove it? And I want to see Holding and Chambers together as a centre-back pairing. My worry is Chambers' lack of pace. He's been done a few times by some quick wingers, and some of them are very quick, like Mane and Montero the other year at Swansea was really quick. But I think that I'd like to see him in a defensive midfield role. At the moment, he's definitely better at right back than Ainsley Maitland-Niles. So I'd keep him at right back until Bellerin's fit, and we'll hopefully see him after the international break there. Personally, but Kolasinac, I'm not going to comment on because I'll be too negative. I'm not a fan at all. I can't stand the guy. I can't stand him. He can't cross the road. He's absolutely dreadful.
No, he's poor crossing. But I like to, I'll try and find the positives from him and all that. Callum Chambers, I think that he's, if I'll be honest, Harry, he's been, he's utility, where he can play in so many positions. I think it's going to go against him. A little bit like Maitland-Niles, it's gone against him. And I feel that what Callum Chambers has got to do, and I feel as a young player, it's hard because you want to play in different positions. You just want to play, but I think there's going to have to be a time when he goes into the manager and says, "Look, what is my position? Because that's what I want to play, and stick to it." Now, for me, I think that right back, I think Harry, you did right there. And once it comes to the fast wingers, I think he could get exposed there. So I don't think that long-term right back is his position. But I do feel that his position, for me, is definitely one of the central defenders. It depends if Emery goes to a back three and then plays like the two wing backs, which would be Tierney and Bellerin. I think that may be a position that that he could go in there and do that role because he could play to the right side of it, and I quite like that if that role for him there. Defensive midfield, he'd done very, very well for Fulham there last season. Now, if you was, and I've said this before, but say if you was watching the Premier League and you think, there's a go over and watch Fulham, and there's a good centre midfield player there, we'll have him. You know what I mean? So when people say that, it's only Fulham, I think, well, if he's that good, we'd have him. It doesn't necessarily mean because what team he plays for, but the fact of the matter is he's not going to get that position, is it? Because Granit Xhaka is going to be playing that all season, so we've got to have to get used to that. So I'd like to see him at central defence. Why not? I see the problem that I've got with our two central defenders at the moment, and I don't know how you feel about this, is that they cannot get any better. But I do believe if you put Callum Chambers and Holding together, that they could grow and become a lot better than what they are now. That's my feelings on it. And so I would just say, look, put him in there at central defence, and I don't think he should be there just waiting to see Bellerin get fit and then be left out. I do feel that Chambers was outstanding against Manchester United. He was outstanding again yesterday. He deserves a run in the team and a consistent run in the team.
Yeah, I think you got a great point there. I think you're absolutely right. I think the point about the two centre backs growing together, would be great in an ideal world. I just think that in this business now and in this particular position that Unai Emery finds himself in, where his contract is up at the end of the season, there's an option to extend. I don't know if Unai Emery has time to try things and wait for them to flourish. And like Chelsea are in a different situation where they've brought Lampard in knowing that they're going to do that. They're going to take that approach, and that's been agreed sort of right and up and down the club. But I think at Arsenal, there's a different pressure there to get us back in the Champions League. Just before Dan comes in, we've got another donation come through.
Brilliant.
Massive thanks to Bill. Keep them coming, guys.
Thanks,
They're going to a great cause this evening. We're trying to help somebody with their GoFundMe page, an Arsenal man, to come back to the UK for some treatment that he needs. He can't be transported at the moment due to his condition, so we need to raise some money. So big thank you to Bill. Bill's got a question for me, which I'll quickly answer. Question for Harry. In the press conferences, do the press ask challenging questions to Unai, or are they told by the club what questions to ask? They're not told what questions to ask. The journalists can ask whatever they want. There is a press officer, though, sitting next to Unai Emery, who will shut down things if they feel that the press conference is heading in the wrong direction. They call it time on the press conference. They end it when they want to end it, which is a little bit disappointing. And they do protect him a little bit. But, it's an open forum. If you've got accreditation and you're in there, you can ask what you want to ask. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get that answer, though. Sorry, guys. Come back to the Chambers and Holding thing. Dan, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd much rather see Holding and Chambers than Luiz and Socrates. Like Lee said, I think they can grow as a centre-back pairing. I also actually prefer them some of their attributes. I think that Rob Holding seems to come back in his last two games that he has, the Rob Holding that we saw before he got injured at Old Trafford. And I thought that was a fantastic Rob Holding, the one that I want to see in my team. In terms of the right-back situation, I think Ainsley Maitland-Niles the other night, he really had a chance to prove why he shouldn't be a right-back. And I don't think he did enough at the Emirates for me. I thought he was one of our quieter players, which I was a little bit disappointed about, really. I was really hoping that he would show Unai Emery why he's a good player. And I think there's a good footballer in there. I'm not sure he's the most intelligent player at times, but I think he's good. He's a midfielder, and when he got the chance to show it, I don't think he really did, which was a shame for me. But the Chambers and Holding situation, I don't think we can get too excited about it, because I think Luiz and Socrates are going to be our centre-back pairing for the season. My question to you two both is, if Holding does come back in, who misses out? Who do we think is going to get out?
Socrates.
Harry?
Yeah.
Socrates.
I'll say Socrates as well.
Socrates.
I'll say Socrates as well, because I think that he wasn't great last season, but I think he's been worse this season, which is disappointing. I feel like
very kind of you, there, Harry. Very kind.
Yeah, I think I think he's been worse. I think that David Luiz, what he gives you is he gives you a lot more technical ability. And if we're talking about a team where it's clear the manager wants us to play out from the back, I'd rather have David Luiz getting the ball off my goalkeeper than Socrates. It's that simple, to be honest. David Luiz can offer you more in terms of bringing the ball out of the defence as well. They're both as bad as each other defensively. They're both a calamity waiting to happen a lot of the time. But I just feel that Luiz has got more in his locker, so I would go with Luiz and leave Socrates out as well.
Do we think that might happen? Do we think Holding will come in or after the international break?
Yeah, I think he will do. I think that they're being very, very patient with him. I don't think he'll play against Sheffield United. I think like the likes of Bellerin and all that will get some well-needed hard physical training in their legs over the next few days and whatever. And I think that they'll come back against whoever we've got in the Europa League, and then they'll be ready for Crystal Palace at home. I think that that's the way they go. I do think, but that's me looking at it. I think that Bellerin is probably still 2 or 3 weeks behind Rob Holding, if I'll be honest. But I think that Holding's got to be a little bit patient, but everything. I don't think he's been really tested yet, has he? If I'll be honest, so there'll be hopefully a test. Listen, I think a good test for us. I was thinking about it yesterday. Is going to be the Liverpool game in the League Cup now. I feel that we need that to be a really good game for us to get all these boys real up and running. A good test. We need a good test without the pressure, and I think that's an ideal game for us now. Where I was thinking, oh no, we've got Liverpool now. I think that's going to be a good game for us and a good time. And I'll tell you another player that should be playing in that game, and I'm going to get onto him now because I don't think he should be playing at the moment, and that is Nicolas Pepe. I think now it's time to bring out Nicolas and get him back playing a bit of form in the Europa League and League Cup times, because I feel at this moment I really do want him to come good, but he's not doing it for us. And as much as I want him to do it, the most important thing for me is Arsenal winning games, and I think at the moment he's halting us a little bit. And what I will say, excuse me, about a lot of people are turning around and saying, "Oh, we've got to give him time," and I get that. But when Reece Nelson was in the side, no one was turning around and saying, "Oh, he's a young kid, give him time to develop, give him time to develop." No, he's got to go. So why is everybody saying, well, we'll give Nicolas Pepe a little bit more time because he's a £72 million player in instalments? You know what I mean?
I think that's what it is, Lee. I
but
think
that's
it's
not right,
the weight on his shoulder.
Dan, that's not right though, is it? You know what I mean? It's more about, I get that, but I feel it was an ideal opportunity for Unai Emery to play him against, who do we play? Standard Liège, get his confidence up. But, this is Bournemouth, and I felt, he started off really well and faded. I thought it was the right decision to take him off. But how many more games are we going to give him before we say, someone's put, which was mentioned a lot on Sunday, that Pepe's a new Jovino. I wouldn't go as far as that. But how many more games do we give him before we say we take him out the firing line and before we say, yeah, he's going to do the business?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that what people are saying about Pepe with the 72 million and a weight on his shoulders and all that is obviously going to put pressure on the lad, and I get that. One thing I don't or dislike about him is his body language, Lee. He's a little bit like a Mesut Ozil or an Andre Arshavin. He's a bit like, that's today's cool. Not to really look like he's 100% giving 110%, and I think that gets on the fans' back straight away, which is why I think he's getting a lot of stick. Also, what I will say about Saka or Nelson, Saka in particular, is that he's had absolutely no pressure on his shoulders. He's just walked in and given 110% because he's a young lad who wants to get into the team. And Pepe, for me, has got that massive price tag on his head. I just think he needs a goal in open play that isn't a penalty. and hopefully that'll give him a bit of confidence, because we all want to see him do well. Well, I hate it when fans get on players' backs when they're not playing well. You've got to give him a little bit of a confidence boost. And my question is similar to yours: how many games are we going to give him until we start to question him? And I'm a little bit too early to 8 games in, where he's probably played 5 or 6 games, hasn't he? So I'm going to try and stick by him for a few more and see if we can, because he's got some great technical ability. Just needs to get on the score sheet for me, mate. It really does.
Is there an argument as well? So I think he's no doubt got some talent. There's no question about that. He's got quick feet. He's got a turn of pace. I think you can question his end product at times, but he's still quite young, still quite raw. I think that will improve over time. 2 points. The first one is, do I feel like Unai Emery is the type of coach that someone like Nicola Pepe needs to develop and hit that next level? And I know we all wanted Wenger to go, etc., but he did have a way of converting players from sort of wide positions into really devastating forwards. He obviously was a good coach in that sort of department, taking people under his wing, etc. Is Unai Emery that man? I'm not sure. That's the first point I'd say. And secondly, the way we're playing isn't necessarily helpful to Nicolas Pepe, because if you watch the way Arsenal play, there's a huge emphasis on the 2 wide men. So whether that's Aubameyang from the left or Saka from the left, whatever, there's a massive emphasis on that player receiving the ball and coming inwards in order to create the space for the fullbacks to get on the overlap. That's something Emery's really keen on. It's a pattern of play that we use all the time. And that's why you always see Kolasinac get forward. Hopefully we'll see Bellerin doing that soon as well and cutting balls back. That is a real feature of our play this season. But in doing that, are you sort of preventing that wide man from having the freedom to sort of beat his man on the outside and go down the line and use that explosion of pace? Maybe. I don't know. I just feel like he's not performed. There's no question about that. He needs to improve. He looks like he's trying too hard at times to have that impact. But also, I don't think the environment around him is particularly good. And I know we haven't spoken about him yet tonight, but I think
we're not going to.
I think Pepe and Aubameyang will both be quietly sitting on the training ground and wondering when Mesut Ozil's going to come into the team to provide them with some through balls.
Did we have to mention that, Harry? Did we have to?
I've lit the flame. I've lit the flame.
Oh, no, flit the flame. I will say, look, with Pepe, I think if that shot that he had that we just went over the bar, if that would have gone in, maybe that would have kick-started him a little bit there, because that was really unlucky. There's no doubt about it. He's got skills and he's got talent and all that. But for me now, it's coming to the stage where we're not playing that well as a team. We need players to come through. I felt that we need. My idea of the wide player was someone that was going to get the ball, skill someone up, and get past him, and then whip in crosses and things like that. But he's not done that, And I looked at Zaha against West Ham for Crystal Palace the other day. Ideal sort of player that that gets the ball, takes the player on, and then plays those passes as well, which is what the Arsenal style, if you know what I mean. But it just doesn't seem to be doing it at the moment. I don't know if and listen, there's no 2 ways. He's got great skills and he's got a great future at Arsenal. I just feel that sometimes maybe there's a decision to make whether you take him out of the team now or they keep going with him, persevere with him. I know that lots of questions, lots of people are saying, it took Bergkamp so many games. It took Robert Perez even longer. It did take Robert Perez much longer. But my feelings of that is that when we had someone like Robert Perez in the side, we wasn't at the pressure of what we are now. We had lots of world-class players around, and it was just take your time, Robert, and you will become a superstar, which is what happened. But I feel that we need to get results. We can't be carrying no passengers, and what we're doing with other players, we're leaving them out, and one bad game from so and so, and he's left out. And I look at it, boys, and this is my problem. I look at players like Willock that are playing really, really well. Ceballos is doing some, does some really good stuff. As soon as Ceballos has a bad game, he's left out. Soon, Willock, if he has a bad game, left out. Maitland-Niles had a couple of bad games, left out. Pepe, oh no, we'll keep him in. Is that fair? Is that fair?
No, No, it's not at all. I think they're good. The weird thing that surprised me actually is we're all talking about needing wingers, weren't we? Pepe, Zaha being linked. I actually think we're looking good with one the wide areas now. I mean, Martinelli looks like he's knocking on the door for me. Saka's really proved his worth. Nelson had a really good game, I thought, on Standard Luiz game on Thursday night. So really, Pepe is under pressure now, and I think you're right, Lee. I think you can't come out, Unai Emery, and say that Mesut Ozil doesn't deserve a place in this team. But there's players like Socrates, Xhaka, Luiz, Kolasinac, and Pepe that do. So he can't come out and do that. Pepe does need to. Yeah, Pepe does need to, get himself involved more. I hope that with Lacazette and Bellerin coming back, that we might be able to see a little bit more link-up play from Pepe. So he'll have someone behind him that is actually a right back that's been a right back for a few seasons now. Bellerin at Arsenal, and obviously Lacazette is really one of our best players, in my opinion, in terms of his hold-up play and his link-up play. So let's see what happens when Lacazette is alongside him and judge him then. But I'm not ready to get on his back just yet.
Right, so that's my next point, and I'll come at you on this, Harry. Lacazette's going to be fit, probably Sheffield United. So are we prepared to say, right, we'll leave Pepe in then, and the young lad Saka, I think, has been brilliant. Last couple of games, is going to be the one to be sacrificing. Is that what is going to happen here? Or, Martinelli also chomping at the bit. What would you do? What would you do? You're managing now. You're right, Emery.
I hope not.
Well, he's going to go take an overdose now.
It's a really tough one. It's a really tough one because, like you said, I think Saka's done well when he's come in. I thought he was a little bit quieter yesterday, but it's not. That wasn't just him. I think the whole team weren't exactly full of creativity yesterday. So I'm not going to pick on Saka, but I think Saka's kind of come from nowhere in the sense that, most people expected Reece Nelson to get a lot more game time, and all of a sudden Saka's come on the scene and he seems to have leapt over him in the pecking order, and he's getting the game time in the Premier League now. Lee made a great point. Martinelli, for me, he's been better than both of them. For me, there's something about that player. I don't know what it is. Like when I watch him, I'm exciting, like this. He's exciting.
Drawn to him, isn't you? Drawn to him.
He is like your typical South American striker. He reminds me a little bit of Suarez in the sense that he's busy all the time. He can be out of the game for a few minutes and then the ball comes anywhere near him and he sparks into life. He presses people. He's sharp on the turn. He's got a great finish on him, despite people saying he's not naturally a centre forward. I think he's shown that he can handle it in that position too. For me, I don't want to see Aubameyang really moved out of the middle because I think Aubameyang is at his most effective when he plays through the middle. But when Lacazette comes in on current form, I think you're right. I think Pepe needs to come out of the team for a little bit, maybe take the spotlight off him for a few weeks. Let Lacazette lead the line, hold the ball up, and if it was me, I'd be trying to bring Aubameyang and Martinelli into the game from the two flanks. Interestingly as well, actually, I think Aubameyang looks better in pre-season when he plays on the right. So taking Pepe out of the team would allow Aubameyang to go on the right and then Martinelli to operate from the left. So that's what I would do at this moment based on the current form of the players.
And have Lacazette in the middle?
Yeah, Lacazette in the middle, Aubameyang on the right because I think he prefers it there than playing out on the left. And then, Martinelli operating from the left.
Yeah, I wouldn't go along with that. I'd go along with that. I think that I'd like to see Pepe, as I say, like this Liverpool game is going to be key. Going up to Anfield and stamping your authority on that, playing your Europa League games, and then coming back and saying, now I'm ready, and I'm up and ready, and for the first team, and I think that listen, from that point of view, I think that we've got some real good pluses there. That we, for me, Saka coming into the fray has given us real loads of options here, like we've now got Martinez, so we're now talking about two youngsters that we can throw into the fray where we was thinking, we're going to miss Lacazette, because let's be honest, boys, as great as Lacazette is, we haven't really missed him that much because the exciting things that we've been doing, the injury come at a good time where we didn't have that many real tough games apart from Man United, but I feel now that with Lacazette coming back gives us so many good options going forward into to these batch of games, which I think are going to be very important to us. When you look at the games that we've got coming up, we've got a difficult game against Sheffield United. we've got the Europa League games and that, but then we've got Crystal Palace, which is looking at it's not going to be that that's going to be a tough game, but it's definitely winnable. You know, all of a sudden get another 6 points on the board. You know, we could be really pushing ourselves into that top three, and I think we've got a few, you know, winnable games coming up. I can't remember the next away game after that. If someone can tell us, that'd be great. But I remember looking at the fixtures and thinking, do you know what? If we get it right, we're going to be really, really in a good position here. Dan, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think so. I think the fixtures now, we've been to some hard games already. We obviously welcomed Spurs, North London derby. We've been to Anfield.
Wolves at home. That's the other game we got.
That's the one. Yep.
Yeah, Wolves at home. Palace at home. Yeah, some good games coming up. Sheffield United. Yeah. Laka has to play for me, 100%. However, I don't want Aubameyang pushed out wide. I don't like that. I think he's a centre forward, and we proved that against Spurs at home that when he was playing on the left, as soon as Laka come off, he went up top and Guendouzi feeds him through, and it's 2-2, and he scores straight away. So for me, he has to play up top. My only question mark of getting everybody in the team, which is tough. I really like Danny Ceballos. However, I wonder if Laka can play that role just behind Aubameyang and then have Pepe and Saka either side and see what works there with Laka as a link-up man. And if that doesn't work, then then fair one. But it'd be nice to see that. And the only other thing that I've always said from day one is I'd love to see Laka at Zet and Aubameyang up top, but I don't think we're ever going to play a 4-4-2. The only way we're going to get that happen is a 3-5-2, I think. And he doesn't seem to want to be playing free at the back this season. So I'd love to see Lacazette and Aubameyang together. I think they're fantastic together. And someone mentioned last season they're like a Dwight York and Andy Cole, and I think that's the best comparison I can get is the pair of them together looking like they understand each other. I don't think Aubameyang and Pepe look to have a telepathic knowledge of playing together yet. So we've seen them two together more this season than Lacazette and Aubameyang together. We saw it at Anfield. And we saw it in that diamond against, was it Watford as well? I can't remember. But that's not really worked for me. So, yeah, I'd like to see Lacazette back in the team. I think he is probably our best player. If you was to pick one, I would probably go with Laka, between Laka and Aubameyang for me.
Okay.
Is Lee with us still, is he?
I think he's frozen.
He's frozen. Look at that. Captions now, please. Captions now for Lee.
Yeah, I think you make an interesting point, Dan, about Laka playing in that sort of number 10 role. It wouldn't quite be a number 10 role, in my opinion. It'd be sort of like a half 9 role. Do you know what I mean? Just sort of joining the attack when possible. The only concern I'd have about that is that just our defense is just not solid enough in the sense of our midfield two behind him. I don't trust them necessarily to do their job and provide
I'm
that.
Back.
He's back.
Sorry, Harry, go on.
That's right. Yeah, I was just saying, I don't think that our midfield pair would be solid enough if you had Lacazette playing in front of them to allow him to go and do what he's good at. And I think as a result, he'd maybe get dragged into a little bit more defensive work than he'd like. And I think that Unai Emery recognises that. And I think that's probably why he leaves out certain players all the time, he who shall not be named. But yeah, I don't know. I think that Unai Emery is a very conservative coach. I think I've seen people call him a coward in recent weeks. I think that's a little bit harsh, but he obviously cares about his team shape, even if his team doesn't have any. He obviously cares about trying to be as pragmatic as we possibly can. And I just think that it's going to be unfortunate, but I think we're probably going to see young Saka dropped out of the team, unfortunately.
Just a word on Saka quick before we move off from him. This kid looks to me, I mean, it will be harsh if he's dropped. I don't think he's done anything wrong. I actually think he's been fantastic. Somebody asked me on another pod, on the Gunsy and Ribbons pod, they said, who do you think he reminds you of in nowadays games or in past Arsenal players? And I said that potentially the last time I saw a player come from the youth system like this from another team was Raheem Sterling. And I know that's a big shout to say that he's going to be as good as him. I hope he is. But the other mentions was Freddie Ljungberg, and obviously he's coaching him at the moment. But one that I thought was great was Rocky Rocastle.
Before my time, man.
Well,
I don't remember.
I think we've if I be honest, Rocky was always coming as a little bit more physically stronger, and I felt that with Rocky, he could play in the centre midfield or out wide right. I don't think really it's fair to compare him with anybody. I'm a big fan of his. I really like the way he plays. You know, he's got a lovely little left foot. The trouble is with him at the moment, he's 18. He's not even developed. You know what I mean? It's a fantastic.
Yeah, he's still young lad, isn't he?
Yeah, fantastic achievement to be getting in the side at that age and performing. And what I liked about it, and would have to give Emery a little bit of praise here, is that, you know, he first of all, we was, as soon as the first substitution was going to come out, everyone was going, "Oh, it's good, bound to be Saka," but it wasn't. You know what I mean? It kept him on till he was physically too tired to carry on, and I felt that's a good sign. I felt against Man United, away from home, difficult conditions, always, I thought he was our shining light in that game. I felt he wanted the ball all the time, and I think that, yeah, he's going to dip in and out, but I really think that, you know, he's exciting me, that as Martinelli there, and I think it's fantastic. I've got two 18-year-old kids that are giving me as a fan a bit of a buzz. I really like when they get the ball. I'll tell you what I have liked about Arsenal in the last few games, even on third. When we get into those positions, Reece Nelson as well, the first fault they've got is taking on the fullback in the box and putting in crosses. And I feel that he's got that about him. I just hope that he's not coached out of that, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, don't keep doing that, taking on the play. We've done that a lot in the first half, and we didn't in the second. Whether they tactically changed it or we got tired, I'm not so sure. But I'm a big fan of his, you know, and I really I don't know about how everybody feels about it in the chat and the fans or whatever. As a fan, you know, yes, I love a big signing. I love the buzz of a big signing and a superstar concept. But I do love it when you've seen players come through the ranks. I think I've been brought up on it as a kid. You know what I mean? Going through, like, when I was first growing up, it was like Liam Brady, Frank Staples, David O'Leary coming through the ranks, and that was a great buzz. And then the great ones of the George Graham era, which was led by Rocky, and to now, you know. And I had a big thing for Jack Wilshere. Was absolutely gutted when he left, because he was one that come through the ranks. So I'm a big fan of it, and you know, long may it continue. I hope to see Smith Rowe get back on in, because I think he's just been sort of hampered by a couple of injuries. Yeah. But I really like him as well. So
we normally get sort of one, don't we? We normally get like a Fabregas, then Wilshere come through. We normally get one. I've been excited by the amount at the same time.
Yeah,
I think they're all come through at the same time, and I've really been impressed with that. The only thing I will say is they're all in similar positions. It'd be nice to see a couple of centre halves come through and a defensive midfielder, you like, you know. But
that'd be nice.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. One player that has impressed me, and I've got to say this, and I feel like I'm getting close to getting the number on his and his name on a shirt. If I do get a shirt, I think he's gonna be me man. I think, like, you know, I love the song that they sing about him, and I just love his energy and everything about that. And that is Danny Ceballos. I'm beginning to fall in love with Danny. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I have to say, I think that his work rate and everything. What was our thoughts on him? I've been a little bit overboard about our Danny, or what's our thoughts on this?
Do you want to go first, Dan?
Yeah, I'll go first if you want, mate. I really like this lad. I really do. I think that it's been evident when he hasn't played in that number 10 role, we've lacked creativity. I feel that he has brought something to Arsenal that we've definitely needed when we sold Ramsey. I think he's got the engine of Ramsey, and he has got definitely 100% the technical ability of somebody like Santi Cazorla. I love the way that he can turn, agility. I love the way he turns with his agility, left, right. And I feel that with Danny Ceballos, he has got that goal now, and I'd like to see more from him in the future with goals, because I think that's what he is currently lacking, that Ramsey gave us, was that kind of couple of goals that, you know, what did Ramsey used to get, between 8 and 10 goals a season? That's what we need from Danny Ceballos in a number 10 role, you know. So I'm hoping that Zidane doesn't want him and that we can try and keep hold of him.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at some of the comments.
Yeah, man. Some of these comments, I was trying to
Brilliant.
concentrate on talking. They're hilarious.
It's brilliant, like, you know. I think that with Danny Ceballos, I think he's going to. I think people are starting to compare him with Mesut Ozil. I don't want to go down that road. He's a completely different player. But it's interesting what they're saying, what people are saying about him there. You know, so I will have to say that I think it is important that we try and sign him on a permanent deal, because I think that's why maybe I will hold back on the shirt, because he's not really our player yet. But yeah, interesting. I think that you know, is he a replacement for Aaron Ramsey? I don't think he is that sort of player, if I'll be honest. I think that he's a unique player. I think he's completely different to what we've been used to, if I'll be honest. I don't know what you feel. I think, as we said, touched on it, maybe Willock was a replacement for Ramsey. You know, if another player that, you know, I'd like to see at Arsenal, sort of, you know, if we can't sign Ceballos on a transfer, maybe go with someone like Jack Grealish on the cheap. You know what I mean? Be someone like that. You know,
he's done well, hasn't he, Lee? He's done really well this season.
I like him. You know what I mean? He's another sort of player that can give us something there. You know, but I've just got this feeling that all what's going on around at Real Madrid, you know, this would be a nice place for Danny to come and settle. Like, you know, I don't know, but I don't know. There's something about him that I like. I can't put my finger on it, but I like his energy. I like his work rate. Yeah, and I do like a little Spanish midfield player, I've got to say. Fabregas,
if we're talking about, yeah,
Cazorla, I've got to have them, haven't we?
If we're talking about players to get names on the back of shirts, I think I am really, really looking forward, and I believe one of my favourite players, potentially, Kieran Tierney. This lad looks absolutely outstanding. Every time he crosses the ball, it looks to me like he's going to find someone. And he's different range of crosses, you know. I've been really impressed with him. I don't know if it's just because I'm so used to Kolasinac playing there and doesn't deliver or what it is, but he really excites me in all seriousness. This lad looks absolutely top drawer. I think that's a fantastic signing. That signing for me was the best signing of the summer, ahead of Pepe, ahead of Ceballos. Kieran Tierney, for me, that I think he's going to be top drawer. I really do. I like his attitude. I think there was a game, was it the game on Thursday when Martinelli went down? One of the players had fouled him, and then all of a sudden Kieran Tierney's the first one in his face, getting up, get a little bit of bite, a little bit of team spirit, leadership, and I like that a lot. I think the lad's going to be top draw. So yeah, Kieran Tierney for me could be my new favourite player.
Well, let's get the people in the chat on this as well then. Well, we've got 5 minutes, right? You've been given an Arsenal shirt, right? Arsenal said you've been a fantastic supporter for us over this season. You've not moaned once. But we're very happy with your support. So you've got the new Arsenal red and white shirt, and they've said, right, you can put any name you want on it now. Which one will it be? If you want to get involved in the chat, give us who you think, like, you know, from who you're clean slate now. Who are you going to go for?
They're going to say number one, Judges.
Well, no, I still think Aubameyang's got to be one of the favourite ones, isn't it? Surely, like, you know what I mean? Like, Archie's put on for a few going for Tierney already. Nigel's put Tierney down as well. Laka coming in there, Aubameyang, Tierney. Tierney's winning at the moment, so he's impressing at this moment in time. You know, more so than Aubameyang. What are you going to go for? Come on, who are you going to go for?
Just quickly, we've had another donation, so I'm just going to quickly go through that. Thanks to Albert. Another donation. Thank you, mate. It means so much to us. He says, Harry and Lee, you know how much I've gone on about Tierney, and yes, it's early days, but what do you make of him so far? We've answered that question already.
Yeah, mate. I think, you know, it looks a top player. I've got to say that.
But for me, I really like the look of Tierney. A lot of people tell me that he's a great fullback from sort of his days in Celtic, and I'll be honest, I haven't seen him play for Celtic. I don't watch Celtic. I hold my hands up. So I am interested to see how he'll cope when he's faced with a really talented winger, and how he will manage his game between getting forward and being defensively sound. Because so far, the games we've seen him in, there's a lot of criticism of him. It's just that I want to see that element of his game as well. Because at the moment, the games we've seen him in, he's just had the free reign of the flank and been able to do whatever he wants. So I'm looking forward to having a good look at Kieran Tierney. But in terms of player on my shirt, it's got to be Aubameyang at the moment. He just delivers every week.
Yeah.
But getting a whole range of answers in the chat. Some Tierney's.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Like I'll tell you what, I've got
Lackers.
a little story yesterday. I was coming home and I stopped off at the Tollington, and all the cars come through, and they stop at the lights there, and the whole pub started singing Aubameyang as his car pulled up, like, you know, and as he drove past the pub, he wound down the window and he's got his fist out, you know what I mean, bibbing his horn and everything like that. So, you know, fantastic player, not just but a fan's favourite as well. I have to say that, you know, the whole pub was singing his name and he's bibbing away and cheering as he goes past. I just think that's we've missed out on that. Since he's come, I feel that the players have sort of gone back with the fans a little bit. I don't know if you agree with that. Like, I just feel that he's been a big part of that. Like, you know, he integrates with the fans. I think he's been fantastic. So as much as I love, I'm still got this little feeling for Ceballos. I really do like him, but it would be very hard not to have Aubameyang on the back at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's on the back of my shirt, the one I'm wearing now. Because I just thought straight away it's got to be Aubameyang. Do you want me to take it off today?
Yeah. Well, you can do. Let's have it. Come on,
We've
gone past 9 o'clock. Oh, lovely. That's what we're going to say. That's proper. That is. That's what we.
There we go.
But I'll tell you what, though, it's great that a lot of people on there, boys, Tierney is getting a lot of them. Friend Perry Groves, like super Perry Groves. You know, that's
Perry
great.
Groves.
What a good squad player he was. A very, very underrated player, by the way. Scored some very good goals for us. Harry don't know who we're on about, but like
I've interviewed Perry Groves. He's a top lad,
top guy. You know what I mean? So
do you know what's depressing is I found out tonight that I'm definitely older than Harry. That is depressing. I can remember Rocky and Perry Groves, so yeah, I must be older.
I can't. I'm a Wenger boy. That's kind of my problem, I guess.
So who's the first sort of player that you really liked at the Arsenal in Harry? What's the first one?
It's got to be Bergkamp, I'd say. My first game was in '96, and it was against Borussia Mönchengladbach in the UEFA Cup. I'm just trying to remember the score. I think it was 2-2. And that was when they had Stefan Effenberg playing for them. Yeah, it was 2-2, I think. And that was like my first ever game. I remember my dad lied to me that he was taking me, because we used to live in South London then. He lied to me that he was taking me out of school early to go to the dentist, because if he told me that I was going to the game, I might have blabbed it to my teacher. So we went up to that. And yeah, I'd say, you know, Bergkamp for me, that's probably my
great ones coming here. Glenn saying Liam Brady. Well, he's probably my first one, really. Like, you know, Lee Farrell. If that's your first one, Patrick Vieira, you're younger than what I thought. You know what I mean? But what's player he was, by the way? Like Georgie Armstrong. You know, my dad still says he was one of the best Arsenal players that he's ever seen. Wide player. You know, Archie saying Ian Wright.
Yeah, I'm with Archie. It was Ian Wright for me. He was my favourite when I was growing up. About 92, I started watching Arsenal. 91, 92, about 91. And that was the one we'd signed him. And it was what a signing that was. He's unbelievable, wasn't he? Shares the same birthday as me, boys, as well, Ian Wright. He looks a little bit older than me, doesn't he? But yeah,
November, November, so your birthday's coming up soon then. Like,
yeah, mate, 3rd of November, mate. 3rd of November.
Danny, I don't know about Danny. Is he lying about his age there? Charlie Nicholas and Kenny Sampson. I thought it'd be a little bit earlier than that, Danny, if I'd be honest. I think you're lying to us there, like, you know. Kathy, Rocky. Oh, you know what I mean? Great one there. So, yeah, some real, you know, Charlie Nicholas again being mentioned. He would have divided opinion if the social media was about now, boys. I tell you, Charlie Nicholas, you know what I mean? Very similar to a certain player we got now, like, you know. Lee, are you old enough to remember lots of players who were for Arsenal best Scottish player? God, the best Scottish player for me was Charlie Nicholas. You know, we haven't had that many Scottish players. You know, Willie Young did he play for Scotland? I think he did. I think he was.
Yeah, I think
Scottish.
so.
Biggest Willie in the land.
Biggest Willie in the land, yeah. We've got a big Willie, like, you know. You have to come back to me with some Scottish players, you know. The only Scottish players I can really remember, Charlie Nicholas and Paul Dickoff, no comparison. I love Charlie, you know, so you know, like Paul Davis, you know, and that's been mentioned now. Lil Bentler has got a little mention here, like dear old dear. Frank McClintock, Tommy Docherty, yeah, Tommy Docherty, good one, Frank. Tommy Docherty, like Frank McClintock, of course, Frank McClintock, legendary captain, yeah. So a little bit before my time was our Frank, but yeah, what you know, my dad again, another one that remembers the 71 side, you know. My dad always says is in the mould of Tony Adams as captain, Frank McClintock, like, you know. So I love all these sort of going back to the old days,
reminiscing,
reminiscing, like, you know. Ray Parlour's got a mention here, and that just shows you, you know, not the most gifted of players, but my God, he made up with it in every other way, and was probably one of
the most underrated, wasn't
he? Yeah, I think if you go in it and say now one of the top 10 players, I think Ray would have to be up there, you know.
Frank, going back to McClintock as well, he's an absolute gent as well.
Is he really?
Yeah,
I can imagine so.
I had an interview arranged with him, and I thought I was going to go meet him somewhere, and he literally invited me to his house, invited me in for a drink, sat there for ages talking Arsenal. He didn't have to do that. He's an absolute gent, legend,
right, you know.
Fantastic.
Nice. That's
George
cool,
Graham, another Scotsman that played for Arsenal. Should have should have known that one, like, you know.
Yep.
So we've had some good Scottish boys at the end of the day, then, haven't we? Like, you know. So
well, let's hope there's another one in Kieran Tierney, then, eh? Let's hope they're as good as him.
Yeah. Let's hope that there is, like, you know what I mean. So listen, we've been going on for an hour and 6 minutes. I've thoroughly enjoyed that, boys. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Very
like,
good.
You know?
Cheers, Lee.
So you know, I hope everybody's enjoyed it. Thanks for joining in on the chat. Bob Wilson was another one. They're all coming through now, the Scottish players.
Merson,
you know,
Paul Merson.
So Paul Merson, what a great player he was. Like, I remember seeing his first game, I think it was against Norwich, and I said he's going to be a player. And yeah, he turned out to be a wonderful, wonderful player for us. Like, you know, so some good time. We'll have to do that. We'll reminisce about the old players. We'll do a show when we ain't got saying on. We'll reminisce about all the old players. I quite like that. Like that. But anyway, guys. Thanks for taking your time out today and talking to us. And we're going to have a little break now because obviously it's international break, like, so we won't be about next week. I don't know what's going to happen the following week because we have a game against Sheffield United. Whether we can fit something in on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, we'll have to see how it goes. But we'll be back in a couple of weeks after that, if not, like. So everybody have a lovely week off and enjoy what you're doing. Stay safe out there, and Dan, do you want to say goodbye to everybody? And how many we have in the chat today? Because there seems to be loads in there. Do we know, Harry, or not?
We peaked at around about 300 people watching live, which is great. It's fantastic. And a thank you to everyone who gave those donations.
Yeah, brilliant.
As we said at the start of the program tonight, we were raising money for a gentleman who needs some treatment. So that family will be hugely appreciative, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to going and telling them how many people donated to help their cause. So thank you to everyone for that.
Yeah, thanks for everybody for doing that. Like, you know, Harry, Dan, thanks for joining us and all that, and a great time. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Keep yourself safe and come on, you Gunners.